am at the Empirical Labs. So this is like a distressors maker. So let's ask about the distressor because we have them. All right, let's go.
Hi, I'm Dave Durr, President and Engineer at Empirical Labs in New Jersey. We created the Distressor about almost 30 years ago, and I was asked to explain a couple things, and I'll go through it. First thing I'd like to explain is why we created the Distressor. And the reason was I had a studio myself back in about 1990, and I always was struggling to get the latest and best equipment. And when I finally got 1176 and an LA2A, the sound of my recordings improved drastically. And I was saying, why is that? And so I was working at Eventide at the time, so I had access to test equipment and other engineers. And so with that, I was able to investigate and started doing research of why the LA2A and 1176 improved my mixes. And along the way, I started seeing things that I said, well, maybe we could do it like this and improve upon those classics, as well as make them more reliable and more consistent. And that was why I went off and actually started working on the Distressor design. A couple things that we did that we borrowed directly was big knobs. We always liked big knobs on the older devices because you can really, like if I want to set this to 7.3, you can actually do that kind of thing. With a small knob, say a knob like this, you don't have that resolution because you don't have as much space between the numbers. So then we started actually designing the unit, and one of the things I wanted to do was have a distinctive look. So I started researching knobs, and I spent almost a year trying one knob after another. There were some good contenders, but finally we settled on a big white knob. And people say, oh, they're great knobs now, but at the time, a lot of people were like, what's with the big ugly knobs? So sometimes, if you're sure that you're on a right track, you can ignore, the detractors if you feel good about it. Obviously, if we'd gone 2 or 3 years into the design and people kept saying that's the ugliest knob we've ever seen, then maybe we would have changed them. But anyway, and we got the big white knobs, a black front panel, which is very practical because if you get a ding on it, you can literally take a magic marker and fix it up. Plus everything, the numbers and the LEDs jump out quite a bit. And we wanted to have no parts that wore out. So one of the things that we went for instance, those old compressors had VU meters, the old meters that go like this. First of all, those are slow, but they also wear out eventually. So again, one thing after another, we kept trying to say, how can we make this better? We added more ratios than any of those devices have. We went to LED VUs. It's actually higher resolution. Let me just, let's see, if you look here, that's a lot of resolution on LEDs, and those do not wear out. Now, sometimes you get a faulty component, but generally they don't wear out. And then we said, let's do something even more radical. So we added, one of the things those older boxes did was distort a little bit. And I found a way to make it controllable to a degree. So we came up with distortion modes. You've got clean, then you've got emphasized second harmonic, distort 2, and then we have more audible, distort 3, which kind of flattens the tops and bottoms of the waveform. And lastly is nuke. Nuke, we wanted to have all the ratios, cover the gentle ratios, but there's a more involved story about a famous producer who wanted a steeper ratio. Phil Ramone was his name. And my best friend was working for Phil Ramone, and I said, you want a higher ratio than 20-1? They said, yeah, we're working in this little teeny room, and we want to make it sound bigger. So experimented and I gave them this. It was a prototype at the time. Gave them back the prototype distressor with this higher ratio in it. And they called me from the session. This is it. We made the room sound much bigger and more live. It really helped, so thank you. And I said, okay, well now I gotta fit the nuke on the panel. It wasn't nuke at the time. I said I gotta fit that ratio on the front panel. What am I gonna call it? And my friend John Patterson, who was working with Phil Ramone, said nuke. And there it is. Fortunately, my friend John died a few years ago, but he's immortalized in nuke. And just a couple things. Nuke is one of those ratios you wouldn't use probably on vocals unless you blended it, mixed it in. But on drums and room mics and sometimes on dialogue where you really want to stop the peak, that's a good place to use nuke. So, and of course it's the one thing we did again to keep our look different. I think we were one of the first people to use a blue LED. And that at the time they were $3 or $4 back in the 80s. Actually, no, about 90. We started designing that in. So we were one of the first to use a blue LED, and it was very distinctive. And of course, now you see blue LEDs all over the place. But anyway, thank you very much for your interest. If there's any other questions, you can pass them through your teacher.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.